Hi, I'm Suzy Badaracco, president of Culinary Tides. We're a fractional foresights and trends intelligence team. This presentation is a condensed version of the full session I delivered at the Tea Summit in March of 2025. In this shortened format, I'll walk you through the key insights and takeaways we covered so you can quickly get up to speed on the trends that matter the most. If you'd like access to the full deck, there will be a QR code at the end of the presentation where you can go ahead and request a copy. If you want to learn more, feel free to reach out so we can keep the conversation going. But now let's start with Sip Savvy, Hijacking Drink Trends to Reveal Consumer Drivers for Alcoholic and Non-Alcoholic Tea Beverages. First, we're going to explore some of the drivers behind these beverages. So we're going to first talk about better for me, not only the drivers, but also the behaviors. So when you understand why they're doing what they're doing. So you have some of the obvious drivers that you've heard about, like low sugar, low calorie, also for the sober curious. But there's also conveniently nutritious, and that's where some of the ready to drink items come in that are on the market. You can also think about functional add-ins, whether it's mushrooms, elderberry, turmeric, ginger, even some of the CBD products. And then there's functional fizz. So fizz or carbonation by itself tends to have a health halo, and that's how you're seeing it in seltzers, also in carbonated juices. So they could be purchasing this, they could be seeing it at a bar, they could also be doing this at home. Ingredient was the first to report that 78% will pay more for clean label or natural claims. Almost 30% are looking for products with no artificial ingredients whatsoever. 86% are likely to pay premium price for beverages with functional add-ins. This is coming from Carrie. And FMCG gurus also showed 89% of consumers actually prefer, instead of supplements to enhance their health, they actually prefer to get these benefits from functional food and drinks. Let's tackle non-alcohol drivers. So there's a few things you need to remember about these drivers. So low alcohol is primary driver for repeat purchase. So in other words, consumers will buy your products again if it has the ability to mimic the taste of the full alcohol version. Low alcohol also affords consumers the ability to blend in social situations, which eliminates the stress of standing out. In other words, they don't necessarily want to drink a lot of alcohol or have a heavy alcoholic beverage when they're in a social situation, but they also don't want to be called out for it. They don't want people saying, hey, what's going on? Why aren't you drinking? And so that's where these low alcohol products come into play. Another subtlety is consumers most often switch to a beverage that is lower in alcohol naturally, not to a low alcoholic version of the original drink. So in other words, instead of trading down in alcohol from wine to a low alcohol wine, which might get them, let's say 12% alcohol, maybe down to 9 or 10% alcohol, that is not a big enough jump. What they will do is they'll go from wine or a spirit all the way down to 5%, maybe a beer, ready to drink seltzer, one of those options. So they want a big jump, not a small jump when they're going down to a low alcohol beverage. And low alcohol is most sought by Gen Z and millennials. The low alcohol sparkling wine category is projected to grow at a rate of about 4.4% all the way to 2026. And Cometric also found that low alcohol products are more often discussed in relation to social situations and gatherings. So if you're looking online or looking at research around people talking about events and gatherings, just a little bit less than half, that's where low alcohol conversations are coming into play. That's how they're being utilized. And YouGov also found that the percent of young adults choosing low and no alcohol options absolutely has risen from 31 to 44% year over year. Let's look at some of the non-alcohol leading categories. So the first is going to be non-alcoholic craft beer and spirits. What's going on is high quality complex alternates to traditional beer, whiskey, gin, and tequila. So it's offering a depth of flavor without the alcohol. When you're looking at functional, you're looking at products that are infused with adaptogens, nootropics, meaning for the brain, CBD, pre and probiotics, and they're usually looking for a beverage that relaxes, gives them energy, mental clarity, or even gut health. Speaking of gut health, you've got kombucha and fermented. So what they're doing is they're looking for balanced health benefits, but with bold flavor. So these products are naturally tangy, they're probiotic rich, and absolutely have unique flavor profiles. With premium and infused waters, you're looking at sparkling, mineral waters, or still waters, but they're being infused, so there's a complex layer to them. So fruits, herbs, electrolytes, or functional elements. It could be for hydration, but it also could just be for a sensory twist. And then mocktails or zero-proof cocktails. These are being crafted with botanical syrups, fresh ingredients, and chic garnishes, and is trying to mimic the depth and experience of a cocktail. So let's switch for a minute over to alcoholic drivers. We're looking at some of the categories that are changing personalities in this space. Let's look at craft beer first. What is it doing? You're seeing more experimental and hybrid brews. So unexpected ingredients like tea, spice, botanicals, also hybrid beers blended with either wine or a cocktail or a functional ingredient. Hard seltzers are really going more the direction of premium and purpose driven. So premiumization would be craft flavors, high quality ingredients, or functional is a different way to go with adaptogens, probiotics, or electrolytes. Ready to drink cocktails are being elevated and really becoming more bar quality creations. So in high end bar quality formulations with complex flavors, top shelf spirits being utilized, and craft presentations. And then whiskey and brown spirits, so cross category innovation. So whiskey with fresh finishes, so wine barrel aging, smoked elements, and flavor infusions, so bourbon and rye crossing into cocktails or ready to drinks category. And then wine, we're definitely seeing playful and disruptive. So embracing some of these unconventional formats, like they're going into pouches, spritzers, cans, but they're also playfully rebranding themselves and using experimental blends. So let's look at the future. I'm going to tell you how to align with consumers for low and no alcohol craft or cocktail. So the inspiration is really what the driver is, right? So low and no alcohol, think about positioning it for social events. It could be for weight loss. It could be for cognitive function. And the pathway is you want to give the consumer control over them choosing these products. So you want to tell them what the benefit is. And this is where that translates into mocktails or non-alcoholic beer, hard ciders and sodas. Could be functional, fermented, some of the infused waters are definitely ready to drinks. If you're looking at craft, now the drivers are kind of more authenticity, social connection, and discovery. And to do this, you're going to make sure you give the product a story or a voice, and it's going to be a reward for the consumer. So position it that way. Now you've got beers and ciders, hyper-local products, unconventional brewing techniques, or unexpected elements. You could also have the hybrid products or functional. And with cocktails, secret and LTOs are still here. So that is the inspiration. Also, travel could be the inspiration. So where's the product coming from? And just escape. Again, you want to give that cocktail a story or a voice, and also reward. Now you're looking at more infused spirits, spicy and bitter going into cocktails, heritage spirits. It could be sustainable, some unexpected elements, or again, here we can put in ready to drink cocktails. So some of the final thoughts. Consumers value authenticity, but also convenience and a sense of adventure all together in their beverage choices. An elevated experience really make up the backbone of many trends, but it doesn't mean it has to be a higher cost. Beverage add-ins and mixers, think of them as the party dress to the drink. And don't forget the cross-tying or layering trends, so using more than one trend concept within a product, lengthens its life cycle. And from us, know the birth or life cycle of a trend prior to deciding to recommend it or enter it so you can foretell how to navigate it, because we don't want you flying blind. And neither love nor hate a trend. Emotions will fog a trend's true pattern, and you may be blindsided when it shifts, and they always shift. And also spend more time researching a trend's personality and trajectory than worrying about what your competitors are doing. After all, they may be idiots. So that's a wrap. Thanks so much for watching. If you'd like a copy of the full version of this presentation, just scan the QR code on the screen. It'll take you to a quick request form. And if you have any questions or just want to chat more about what we covered, feel free to reach out using any of the contact information here. I would love to connect. Thanks so much.